Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson on working with decimals. Right, so today we'll be adding, subtracting, multiplying, all that kind of stuff with decimals, right, as well as practicing with fractions. Right, so with decimals, right, they work the exact same way as the regular numbers. Right, let's take the first one here, 3.42 plus 2.71. So 3.42 is somewhere right here. Right, and if okay, right? Because if it's 3 point something, we know it's between the 3 and the 4. Right, and we know it's 4.2. Oh, actually, because it's 4.2, it's slightly before the halfway mark, so it's going to be somewhere right here-ish. Right. To add 2.71, all we do is go to the right by 2.71 times. Or not times, but go to the right by 2.71 spaces. Right, so we can do a long addition to figure it out. Right, with long addition, right, we just add one column at a time. Right, 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 plus 7 is 11. Right, because it's above 10, we write down the 1 and we put a little 1 here. Right, it'll be useful later. The decimals carry through the same spot. And then we add a 2 and a 3 together. Right, but notice here that because we had an 11 earlier, we had this little 1 remaining here. So it is 3 plus the 2 plus the little 1 right here. That was being carried over. So we got 6.13 as our answer. So it will land. Alright, this will be somewhere right here-ish? Yeah, something like there. Right, similarly, right, from 3.42, if we want to plus a negative 2.71, it's the same thing as just subtracting. Right, we're just subtracting 2.71. Right, from yesterday's lesson, if we see a plus minus sign or plus negative number, right, we can think of this as just that. Right, if the signs are different, it's always minus or negative. So we do a long subtraction. 2 minus 1 is 1. 4 minus the 7, right? Because 7 is bigger than 4, we cannot just subtract it. So we have to borrow a number. Right, we borrow the 3 in front of it to make it into a 2. Right? And because of that, we can now treat the 4 minus 7 as a 14 minus 7. 14 minus 7 is 7. 2 minus 2 is 0. So 0.71. Right, so long subtraction works the same with decimals. Just make sure that the decimal is at the exact same spot. Alright, negative 4.42 plus 2.71. Negative 4.42 would be somewhere right here-ish. We add 2.71. Right? If we're adding a negative and a positive number, right, we can see first that the bigger of the two is negative 3.42. So the answer must be negative. And we just take the difference. Right, we just subtract them. Right, and as we did earlier, right, it's 0.71. So negative 3, oh, I don't need a box for that. Negative 3.42 plus 2.71 is just negative 0.71. All right, how about this one here? All right, we are subtracting negative 2.71 here. All right, so we can think of it. All right, we can think of it as adding the right, adding the opposite. Right, adding, we have minus 2.71, same thing as adding a negative 2.71. from here, right? We know the answer must be negative because both of those numbers added are negative. Add this up. Well, as we saw earlier, 6.13. The answer is negative 6.13. Right, so as you can see here, with the decimals, it's pretty much the exact same thing as rational numbers. Now, how about long multiplication? Right, might be a little while since some of you have done this. Right, which is why it's good practice. Long multiplication, we write in columns like this. So, first, we take the top number and multiply it by the rightmost digit. Right, so we go one at a time, right? First, we go this column, 6 times 8, which is 48. Right, so write the 8 here and the 4 on top here. This will be carried over for later. Next, we do the second number of the top. So 1 times the 8, which is 1, or sorry, 1 times 8 is just 8. And with the 8, we also have to add this little 4 right here. So what we're doing here is 1 times the 8, which is 8, and we have to add the 4 right here to get 12. Or actually, I shouldn't be doing this. 12, right? Because it's a two-digit number. The ones place, the 2, goes down here, and the tens place went up there. And as you can see here, because there's no number here anymore, right? It's a 0 here, then we can put down the 1 like that. Alright, next. Oops, not a ruler. Again, now we take this top number, multiply by the other digit, not the 3. And as you can see here, the 3 is in the tens place. So we actually add a 0 here to denote that we're now multiplying in the tens place. Right? We're pretty much doing 16 times 30 here. Right, so first, 3 times 6 is 18. Alright, so let's put a little blue one here. 3 times the 1 is 3, plus the little one here, 4. Last step is to add them up. Alright, 8 plus 0 is 8. 2 plus 8 is 10. Right? Because it's a two-digit number, 1's place goes here. The 1 of the 10 is up there. Lastly, 1 plus 1 plus 4, 6. So the answer, 608. Alright. Of course, it doesn't really matter if it's negative or not. We just know for sure that the answer must be negative. Right? And then we multiply it like normal. Right? But it's negative because it's a negative number times a positive number. It's opposite signs. So take the top number, multiply by 1 digit of the second number each time. First, starting with a 7. 8 times a 7. Oh, should do a different color. 56. 30 times the 7 is a 21. 21 plus the 5 is 26. Alright, since there's no more number anymore, you can just put a 2 down right here. Next, top number, multiply the middle number now. Because it's 0, we just have 0. That's it, right? 0 times 30 is just 0. And now we have the hundreds place. This top number times the hundreds place. Because it's the hundreds place, we now need 2 zeros here. Alright, tens place, we got 1 0. Hundreds place, we got 2 zeros. 1 times the 38 is 8. Oops. 1 times the 3, 3. Add them up. 6 plus 0 plus 0, 6. 6 plus 0 is 6. 2 times 8 is 10. 3 plus 1 is the 4. So it's negative 4,066. Right, we'll put a little comma here to denote that. Because it's multiplication, it actually doesn't really matter which one we do first. We could do 107 times 38. We'll get the exact same answer. So let's get top number times the first digit, the ones digit. 7 times 8 is 56. 8 times the 0 is 0, but then we got a 5 here, we got to add, so it's 5, 6. 1 times the 8 is just 8. Okay, next. 107 times the 10th digit. We have an automatic 0 here. 3 times the 7 is 21. 0 times the 3 is 0, but then plus this 2 here, that was carried over. 3 times the 1 is 3. Add them up. 6 plus 0 is 6, 5 plus 1 is 6, 8 plus 2 is 10, 3 plus 1 is 4. Same answer. How about decimals now? Alright, with decimals, we always want to make sure to get rid of them before we start multiplication. But importantly, we actually count how many decimal places we want to get rid of. So all numbers decimal are at the end of each number. It's like 8, for example, or like 74, right? By itself, the decimal is always at the end. So let's count how many decimal places each number have. 5.2, you got one decimal place here, right? One number place after decimal. With 8, or 8.0201, we got 2 additional decimal places. So in total, we have 3 decimal places between the 2 numbers. Alright, that's something we will need for later. But for now, let's just multiply as usual. We know for sure that it's a positive number because we have 2 negatives to the same signs. They allow multiplication. So at this point, we get rid of the decimals and compute as normal. Top number, first placement, 52. 1 times 52 is 52. Next, top number, 10th digit, 0 across the board because it's 0. Top number, 100th digit, 2 zeros for hundreds. 2 times the 8 is 16. 5 times the 8 is 40, plus the 1 is 41. Add them up. 2 plus 2, 2 0, 0, 5, 4, 1, 6. So now, remember that we got 3 decimal places to worry about. So, counting from the very end, we have to move it 3 decimal places into the number. So we got 1 place, 2 places, 3 places. Right, which means our final answer, 41.652. Right, so we take away the decimal places at the beginning and then slot it back in later. How about zeros? Alright, right off the bat, we got 2 decimal places. So what's our final answer? We gotta move the decimal back 2 spaces. Okay? And now with zeros, we can actually get rid of them too and add them back later to make our lives easier. So we got 2 decimal places and 3 zeros. Alright, zeros are decimal places, we can just ignore them. So when we ignore them, we got 203 times the 2. Right, it should have been 203 times 2000, but we'll add in the zeros later. So luckily this is just one step. Right, top number times the ones digit, 2 times 3 is 6, 0 times 2 is 0, 2 times a 2 is 4. Okay, and then we're almost done. Because we took away the 3 zeros at the beginning, we put the 3 zeros now back in our final answer. And also because we got 2 decimal places in the beginning, we now take it from the answer. So our final answer is 4060.00. And of course, as mathematicians, if it's just 0.0, we don't have to write them. So we'll just leave it like that as our final answer. Okay, law of multiplication. Right, once again, hopefully this is more of like a review and jog your memory kind of thing. Right, if you do multiplication in a different way, right, once again, you're more than welcome to use whatever method that works for you. Whew, okay, next page. Long division. Right, so it's long division. We use this little sign here. Right, we put the first number in here, second number in here. Alright, and now we just go down the list. Can 2 be divided into 6? Unfortunately, it cannot. So put a 0. Next, we go to, if it cannot go to the number, we drag in a second number. Can 23 go into 6? Yes. Alright, the biggest number that can go into 23 when multiplied by 6, right, is 18. Right, we can multiply 6 3 times to get 18. Right, because if we multiply 6 by 4 times, we get 24. And that's bigger than 23. We don't want that. Next step is we subtract them. 23 minus 18 is just 5. After that, we drag the next number down. Okay, how many times does 6 go into 54? Right, it goes into 9 times. Exactly. And when they subtract, we get 0. And then we're done. Okay. Next, we see that we have a negative number. Positive and a negative. Answer must be negative. Set up as usual. First number in here. Second number out here. Right? We don't have to worry about negative anymore because we already have the negative. We essentially are worrying about the negative later. Right? It's at the answer. So, how many times does 7 go into 2? 0 times. Alright, 7 is already bigger than 2. Then we take the other one, the second number, into consideration. How about 24? Right, we can go into 3 times. Right. 21 is the biggest multiple of 7 below 24. We subtract that to get 3. And as you can see here, we ran out of numbers to bring down. Right, this means that the 3 is a remainder. Right, we got 3 remainder. So the answer is just negative 3 remainder 3. Of course, 2 things to note. We can keep going to find a decimal answer, right? But we don't have to worry about that right now. Second of all, we can also double check. Little DC double check. We can plug into a calculator. Right. If 24 divided by negative 7 is this number, then this number times negative 7 must go back to 24. So, we know that we have negative 7 and negative 3. Alright, so we multiply it together. And then after that, we will add whatever is remaining. So we add the 3 later. Right, and of course we got 24, right? 7 times 3 is 21, plus the 3 is 24. Okay? Decimals. Dividing decimals. Right, if there's only one decimal, we actually don't have to worry about it too much. Put the first number here, second number here. Answer must be negative because we have a negative positive number. 6 going to 13, or 6 going to 1, 0 times, 1's too small. 6 going to 13, 2 times. I even got 12. We can subtract it to get the 1. The decimal place now so it remains the same. We bring the 8 down here. How many times does 6 go into 18? 3 times. Perfect, no remainders. So it's negative 2.3. Lastly, 2 decimals. With 2 decimals now, we want to essentially make it so that we only have 1 decimal place left. Right, with 2 decimals, it's a bit more complicated. So what we can do is actually move both of the decimals 1 place over. Right, and now instead of working with 2.57, right, if we move the decimal place 1 over, squish it over, we're working with this now, which is a lot easier. We don't have to worry about 2 decimals. Same old idea. 4 going to 2 0 times. They take the 25 in, goes in there 6 times, 24. You can subtract it to get 1. The decimal now goes up, 7 goes down. 4 going to 17 4 times, so you got 16. There's 1 remaining. Okay, now here's the tricky part. Right, the remainder isn't 1. It is 0.01. Right, you have to be really careful here with this method. Right, because we have to move the decimal places around right here. Right, we have to make sure we also move the decimal for our remainder as well right here. For the answer, 6.4, remainder 0.01. Okay, this lesson is already pretty long. Alright, we're almost there. Alright, next we can convert fractions to decimals. Luckily, in cases like this, we can use a calculator. If we type in 3 over 4, right, you will get a decimal. Right, so all we do here is divide our numerator, that's a number on top, by the denominator, a number at the bottom. So in your calculator, 3 over 4 is just 3 divided by 4, 0.75. Sometimes we get a very ugly number. Right, when we type in negative 4 point, or we do negative 4 divided by 3, we get negative 1.3 repeating. Usually, we round to the second decimal. You might be wondering, how do you round decimals? Great question. Here's some examples. One thing to note is, if we have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, we round down. 5, 6, 7, 8, we round up. So, we want, in this first example, the 10th place, which is this one. We now look to a number after that. Because number is 2, we round down. Or in other words, the number stays the same, still 5.0. Alright, next, let's actually do the hundreds example first. For the hundreds one, which is this place here. The front remains the same. We look at a number after the place round around. because it's a 9, right, we have to round up. So this 2 becomes a 3. And then the middle one, once again, hundreds here. Alright, we look at the number after it. It's a 9. We round up again. So this becomes a 10. Right, which is kind of illegal, right? We cannot just have, right, we cannot have like a 10 here. Right, that's a completely different decimal. So instead, this 1 gets added to the number in front of it. And now, if we add the 1 to this 9 up here, this also becomes a 10. So this 1 gets added to the number in front of it again. And so our final rounding is actually 19. Right, and yeah, so that's all it for our lesson today. I apologize for the long-ish lesson here, right? But this is just kind of making sure everyone's on the same page. Okay, so with that being said, hey, get practicing, and that's all.